Welcome back to the program. I'm speaking to Reverend Kenneth Meshoe, the President of the African Christian Democratic Party in Parliament, and Cheryllyn Dudley, MP. And Cheryllyn, you serve on several committees. Tell us that. What
Well,
those
mainly
committees
international relations, which links with trade and industry and various other aspects, and then social development. But what we do is we keep a watching brief on all of the committees, so where the issues are breaking, if we need to be there, we're there. For example, Labour was a place that I spent a bit of time in,
Yes.
in the last year with the bill that we were working on.
And health. You also served in health.
And health, so education constantly. So yeah, so we have our main focus, but we seriously we move with the issues rather than the committee.
So you're keeping a watch over everything, and that's what I love about the ACDP. You're 3 members in Parliament, but you're all over the place. And the reason we invite Cheryllyn Dudley, Pastor Kenneth Meshoe, and Steve Swart, who couldn't be, unfortunately, because he's in a committee meeting, is because we get a biblical Christian perspective of what's happening inside of Parliament. Now, there are other Christians there are Christians in other parties in Parliament, in the DA and the ANC and all of that, but we can't call them in because they cannot give us a biblical perspective because they have to toe the party line that is not biblical, if you understand what I'm saying. So therefore, we asked the ACDP to come in to give us a biblical perspective because a biblical party, and the party stands on biblical principles, and so they can speak in this way. So, Pastor Kenneth, coming back to Jacob Zuma and being cornered, losing control a little bit, there are infightings in the ANC. There are factions in the ANC, and people are saying, as he loses control, he's going to become more dangerous, and he's going to begin to take, enforce his rule and control in Parliament, in government, and maybe we'll see that in society. So just your thoughts on that.
Well, we agree with that. Because he's cornered, he's going to do his utmost. He's going to do even what might be regarded as being undemocratic things in order to try and protect himself. Now, if he had the best interest of the country at heart, the man that knows that he's no more loved, respected, and wanted, he would do what's honorable, which would be to step down. I mean, you know that the ANC is divided. For the first time, you hear about 5 to 6 people who are running for the presidency of the organization. It has never happened before. This just highlights the divisions among them. So if there is anything that we can do to advise the president, that which we believe can help stabilize the country and also earn the respect of the international community for South Africa, the president would have to say, for the sake of my country, for the sake of unity,
yes,
for the sake of reconciliation even between races, for the sake of a nation building, I'm stepping down, I'm handing over to somebody else so that together we can build South Africa.
Yeah, Cheryllyn, on that handing over to somebody else, it's been in the media that the president favors his ex-wife to take over the leadership of the ANC now. The elective conference is coming up in December 2017, and his ex-wife, Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, who has just stepped down from chairperson of the African Union, is a favored person to be in that. But I was in Durban recently, and I saw headlines, posters on the polls there saying the Zulu King does not support a woman president for South Africa. But just your thoughts on Nkosazana Zuma taking the role or the leadership. Do you think that will happen? And are you concerned because of her stand on abortion issues and other sort of human rights issues?
Well, I want to thank you, first of all, for acknowledging that the ACDP is quite a different party or a different entity in terms of politics, because we actually truth is an extremely important value, and telling it like we see it is really important, and we give each other a lot of leeway in terms of having a slightly different perspective, because from where we sit, we see it slightly differently. So yeah, I'm likely to see it slightly differently to my colleagues, which makes us even stronger because we have a broader perspective on the issue. I will look at this from a bit of a gender perspective. But I have also been watching Nkosazana Zuma as a woman. I don't see her as the ex-wife of the president, and I personally am offended that she's referred to as his ex-wife. That is something that has happened, it's been dealt with, it's gone. She's been many, many other things since then that have nothing to do with being his ex-wife. She got into hot water over the Sarafina issue at the time she was in the health committee, but that kind of was a bit of a smokescreen for a lot of the good work that she actually did. And I have purposed to look at what was done there. When she was in Home Affairs, she turned Home Affairs around on its head within the shortest possible time. No one was able to do that before, and no one's been able to do it since. As she's gone on to the African Union, she's been an absolute creditor. She didn't go in there without knives in her back and in the front. People didn't want South Africa to be the boss of Africa. So she went in there under very trying, difficult circumstances, and she's really put herself, she's handled herself extremely well. When she is, for example, in meetings where the Jewish community in South Africa are meeting, she is extremely rational and balanced, and she has not got any anti-agenda in terms of people. So she's looking for solutions, taking the country forward. So I have to say, sorry, I'm impressed.
You know, we are not going to agree on this one.
Okay.
So I'd like to hear Pastor Kenneth on Nkosazana Zuma.
We do not want a Zuma dynasty. We do not want a Zuma kingdom. The word Zuma in South Africa, unfortunately, is too linked to Jacob Zuma.
Yes.
And anybody who's a Zuma, I think there must be a cooling off period.
So if you change it,
Yeah, there must be a cooling off period.
It's like the Bush and the Clintons
yeah.
in
For
America.
sure.
There must be a cooling off period. It would be a bad idea for South Africa if the ANC agrees to push Nkosazana Zuma to be the leader of the ANC, and they would feel the pain at the elections. 2019, if they choose Nkosazana Zuma to be their leader, they're going to sink, because people are going to say, Zuma JZ has done this and this, and Zuma JZ still has an influence over this woman. People are saying, who come from KwaZulu-Natal, that she is always at Nkandla. So because she's always at Nkandla, she's always with the president, it's a fact that the president has an influence over her. Even though she might be brilliant in her own way, she can make her own decisions, but the fact is there is going to be the Zuma
The
family.
connections are there,
For
and
sure.
you can't get away from it.
You can't get away from
and
that.
it's going to be negative, never mind which way you look at it.
Yeah,
Sure,
and now
sure.
having said what I've said, I don't think she will be put in that place. This is
Okay.
just my gut feeling. Because as far as I can see, opposition have played a huge role in actually allowing the Communist Party take over all the positions of authority in the ANC. So they are very satisfied right now. They've actually gained off of this whole anti-Zuma fixation that everybody's got. And you'll see in place all the top leaders of the Communist Party are all in place, from Pravin Gordhan right through. So there's been a total bloodless coup, and the opposition have handed the ANC to the Communist Party.
Yeah, but you know,
So I mean, this is just...
It's maybe something we're not looking at.
Yeah. You know, but talking about Pravin Gordhan is a man in a class of his own. Nobody can dispute the fact that he played a major role to ensure that South Africa is not downgraded.
That's right.
He played a major role. The man has been able to give a budget that is balanced. If it was not this internal politics of wanting to replace him with somebody that is too close to the JZ, wanting to replace him with somebody who will just dance to everything that
Follow
the president
orders.
wants. You know, the man definitely has done a sterling job. It's not only South Africans who say that, but the international community respect the man because he has done an excellent job. He's a man of integrity.
Man of principle.
He's a man of principle.
Now let's talk about that, because there's still this threat hanging over the finance minister, Pravin Gordhan. And there's been talks and rumors going around that there's this move to get rid of him, to take him out, replace him with somebody that's more compliant, that will do what Jacob Zuma wants them to do. He's standing in the way of a whole lot of things. So he's really got the interests of the nation at heart as far as the economy is concerned. Do you still believe, Pastor Kenneth, that there is a threat against this man and that they're going to remove him? Because the international, as you said, the international financial community has said, if this guy moves, we downgrade you. That's it, to junk status. And that's the threat we face as a nation if this guy's moved out. But there is this move. There are people, there are all kinds of things. You see what happened with the NPA, the charges brought against him, then removed. They say there's still an investigation by the Hawks on Pravin Gordhan with the rogue unit at SARS. So there's still a lot of things happening. Do you believe that they're going to remove him?
From what we hear, also reading between the lines, looks like the president wants to get rid of him because he is accused of blocking transformation. He's accused of blocking everything that the president wants to do. I mean, if the man says we cannot go the nuclear route because you don't have money for it.
And that's over 1 trillion rand.
Yeah.
That's the budget for these nuclear power stations with Russia.
The man does not want South Africa to have a debt that we cannot service in future, a debt that's going to take most of our budget. He doesn't want that to happen. But there are people on the other side who are just saying anything we want, particularly if we can get something out of it. Because all the people that are pushing the nuclear deal, there is some a piece of cake that they're going to find.
There's kickbacks. They're going to benefit.
Definitely, they're going to benefit. So a man like him is honest, and we agree with him that we cannot afford a $1 trillion rand debt at this stage, because the nuclear deal definitely is a very expensive one. So, but they want to get rid of him. And if they do, there's going to be, Parliament is going to be worse than it is now, I believe, because all opposition parties are going to object. All opposition parties are going to say, ANC, you have put, or the president, you have put your personal interests beyond the interests of the country. There are many ANC members of Parliament and ANC supporters outside who are behind the current finance minister because they've seen he has done a sterling job. So it would be a foolish, I would go to an extent of saying it would be a foolish mistake of replacing the finance minister, Pravin Gordhan, with somebody else at this stage, particularly when there are threats that we are going to be downgraded if that happens. Yeah.
And what is clear, obviously, is the division that we saw at the time that ex-President Mbeki was being moved out. There was a clear division where there was Parliament on the side of the President, then suddenly it wasn't. Suddenly it was the President and the departments versus Parliament. Now, we've seen that happen at Parliament. It's just not to the same degree because there's far more discipline in terms of how the ANC are handling this. So you'll see with their lead, Jackson Tembo leading the caucus, the ANC caucus at Parliament, that caucus is no longer just behind the president. Yes, they're not going to play the DA and EFF game and be pulling him out, etc., and causing chaos within the party, but doesn't mean they're with the president.
Yes.
So at the moment we are seeing the majority of MPs here and the president and the executive on the other side. So it's just much more contained, and I think that the ANC, from what I'm looking at, they have reined the president in to a large degree. On some issues that's bad, like for example on the Jewish-Palestinian issue, the Israeli-Palestinian issue, that's not a good thing, but on other issues it will be a good thing. I'd be watching the situation over the nuclear deal very closely because we were all encouraged that Pravin Gordhan would be taking the stand that he took. But for me, he's already flipped on that. So I'm also watching that pretty carefully.
Yeah, there's so much things to watch. And one of the things we want to watch, well, at least two of the things that's been in the media a lot, and Christians and pastors out there has been asking questions about, is the hate crimes and hate speech bill, number one, and then the CRL Commission and their recommendations to government on the regulation of religion. So we're going to talk to Cheryllyn Dudley and Pastor Kenneth Meshoe more about those issues. Don't go away, more after the break.